All right, guys, welcome back to Fantasy Sports Island. We got some a special podcast for you tonight. I brought back my main man, Royce, fantasy football expert. He was the first guy to come on the island and join me for a podcast. It was a good show, so I've decided to bring him back. And I had to bring on my buddy Tony, Tony Poop Newton, as we like to call him, expert in fantasy football, always drafts really good teams. So I'm really happy to have you on the show, Tony. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right. So obviously we call you Poop because you're obsessed with poop, and it's hilarious. And all your team names have some kind of version of poop in them.
More or less.
So on that note, we're gonna do a little roundtable here on guys that are on our poop list, guys that have screwed us in the past that we will never draft again. Tony, why don't you start us off? So tell me, what guy do you hate that screwed you in the past? Exactly. We'll start with your number one on the poop list. Who's that?
My number one, I'm going to have to go with Cam Newton. Now, listen, will I ever draft him again? Probably not. Sometimes you get in a pickle and you don't have a choice. But if I can stay away from that guy, absolutely. Now, of course, he changed teams, but I took him the year right after his MVP winning season, and he had a horrible, the worst year, I think, on record until his injury-prone crap. You come off MVP and you're that bad and you destroy my season. And I had Antonio Brown that year, and he had a mediocre season. So never, I can't even stand to look at Cam Newton. Hate that guy.
So you'll never get Cam Chowder ever again, especially not in New England.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, now that he's in New England, obviously, it's like, you got a good coach, the dynamic. If you get in a pickle, but I just because I hate him that much, I'm like, you go around players like that. You take it personal. That's not the way to win the game, but sometimes you just can't help it. It's like, nah, forget it. Don't even want to see this guy and his stupid haircut right now, too. Can't stand him.
Exactly. All right, so Royce, who's your number one on your hit list, shit list, poop list, whatever you want to call it?
Tony, we're like this. My number one was Cam. I put Cam in my phone. Exact same reason. I had him the year of his MVP. Almost took me to the championship. And then after his injuries and everything, I kept the ball rolling, thinking maybe this year, and it never happened. And where's he at now? New England? I don't even care. I don't even pay attention anymore. I won't even. Yeah, don't say his name. La 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 la.
So I have the pleasure of never actually drafting Cam Newton. I've always hated the guy. I don't know what it is about him. I just don't like him. I've never selected him in fantasy football. But I have taken Tom Brady twice, and I've traded for Tom Brady another time. And all three times he's had his three worst years ever. He pisses me off. I will never take Tom Brady again. And I say that, and I probably would this year. Because he's got weapons. But, so Tom Brady had his 50-touchdown year, set all kinds of records, and scored amazing points in fantasy. And I drafted him the next year, and I believe that was the year that he tore up his knee.
Oh, right.
Right? So then I picked him up the following year in a different league, and he had another horrible year, and I thought I would never have him again. And then I believe I traded with you, Tony, last year to get Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So I'm freaking done with Tom Brady, man.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think I had one of those years too. What was it, like maybe 2014 or 15 or something like that? He was like one of my number one picks. Like, really, dude? How could you have a subpar season? You're the GOAT. It just happened to be the time that you and I drafted him. It just happens.
Right. All right, so we've thrown out those two guys. Let's continue the shit list. Who's next on your list, Tony?
Well, I'm going to go with Antonio Brown. Obviously he hasn't been around. He's coming, what is he, 8 weeks off this year? I wouldn't even trade for him right now because I hate him that much. Because the 2 times I had him, he let me down. The guy is, I think, probably one of the most talented wide receivers of all time. And he has a really nice butt. I'll give him that. Right? But I'm just saying, he's an amazing wide receiver. And then he had the same year that I drafted Cam Newton, what was 2016 or something like that, because I think Cam's MVP was 15. He had a good year, but not like every season when you guys drafted him. He'd get like 1,000 points, you know. And I'm anti the guy. I don't think he deserves to play. I can't help it. I just don't. So I won't draft him.
I totally understand that. I totally get it. All right, Royce, what you got? Who's on your shit list?
All I had was Cam. That was my.
It's Cam. Cam is Mr. Dookie. He's twice on your list.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, even guys I like or didn't really score for me, I can always go back. Well, at least I didn't have Cam this year because he would have just killed me. So yeah, back to you, Chuck. Go.
Well, actually, I was going to flip it on Tony. One of the guys that I love forever is fantasy football god. That's what I call him, Antonio Brown. I mean, I've had him 2 or 3 times. I had him the year he broke out. I had him the year he went completely ballistic with Ben Roethlisberger a couple of years back. So I forever love Antonio Brown. I drafted him last year, and he played 1 week for me. And I'll freaking draft him again in the last round and take a flyer on him. I have him on my Dynasty team. I'm just hoping that someone picks him up. So, yeah, he's just one of those guys that I'll love forever. Another guy like that for me that I love is Drew Brees. Drew Brees has been good to me every time I've drafted that guy. And he's had some off years, but I've never had him during those years. So Drew Brees is on my love list. Tony, who's your guy that's number 1 on your love list?
I always go with Julio Jones. I know he doesn't have massive seasons every season, but he's always going to get you your points. Even when the Falcons are, you know, what is it? They score what, 7, 10 points or whatever. He's got a large portion of that. So if he's not catching touchdowns, he's still going to get you over 100 yards. He's still going to get quite a few receptions. My go-to, Julio Jones.
Yeah, and I mean, he's still capable of like 200-yard games. Every now and then he'll just blow up like that. And we play in total points, so whenever he does that, it's super, super awesome for your team. What about you, Royce? You got anybody that's on your love list?
Yeah, it's not a huge shocker. My go-to guy, I try to get him every year. It's Russell Wilson. I mean, the guy's he's 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns every year, and he seems to make stars out of wide receivers you don't know about in the first week of the season, but you know who they are at the end. And Seattle always seems to be down by 4 with 5 minutes left. He's got 2 touchdowns already in his belt, and he's going to throw for another one. And he's just, I mean, he doesn't get the big play like, you know, obviously Lamar last year or Patrick, but he's always he's the guy I go for every year, number 1. And actually last year the guy ahead of me ended up getting him, and then I had to settle for this guy named Lamar Jackson. That worked out.
Oh, that's terrible.
But yeah, Russell Wilson's my guy.
I love Russell Wilson. He's not only that, he's a nice guy. He's a good teammate. He's clutch. He can run the ball. He can throw on the run. I mean, he does it all. So I totally get that. I don't think I've ever drafted Russell Wilson, but maybe this is my year.
Yeah.
We'll see. But, yeah, I can see why you could love that guy. He's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so, Tony, we're in 2 drafts together this year, and you kind of got the extreme on both. You're picking first in one. You're picking 12th in the other at the turn. So I wanted to kind of pick your brain. So in one of my leagues, you know, Don and Adam, they got the 1 pick. They're taking Patrick Mahomes, which is probably not what you're going to do in the league that we're in with our boys. Who are you taking number 1? Is it just McCaffrey?
I think I'm going with Walter Matthau.
Oh, yeah. Can't go wrong with Walter Matthau.
Man, he's mean. I'm Christian McCaffrey. No matter what, they're going to feed him the ball. He's a clear number 1. The only thing it's I don't even think you can be jinxed with him, which, knock on some glass here. I mean, you always worry about injuries, but come on, dude. You love that guy. You love him. We all love him. He's going to get fed the ball, and if he doesn't completely go off, he's still going to go off. He's still going to have tremendous
100 balls, right? I mean,
absolutely.
You can
125. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. I'm doing it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
So you have no concerns that they have a new coaching staff, maybe a new scheme? None.
No. I think he's that talented too. That it's not even entirely matter.
All right, now flip it. Now we're at the 12th pick for you. You got 2 picks coming. What kind of guys are you looking to grab there? What's your strategy at 12?
I like the situation this year. Okay, you know what? I can't answer that. I can't answer that. I think I might go double running back, which I never do. I never do. If I get like 10, 11, 12 pick, I always get like one running back, one wide receiver. Like I said, if there's a money QB available, you can't really turn your nose up at them. But there are some depth in these positions. But I'm feeling double running back for the first time in probably 15 years.
Well, I can tell you someone I know that always takes double running backs. That guy. Mr. Royce.
Every year.
It's a safe bet. It's
every
a really
year.
safe bet.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the double running back, I got my backfield. I'm set. I don't have to worry about. And hopefully, your first pick is going to be that high-end running back.
Sure.
Your second one, just depending on if it's a high running back draft, But I think this year, I mean, if you got McCaffrey first, you might be looking at like a James Conner or even like an Austin Eckler as your second guy. Right there, he might be around. And those are two great guys, both starters. And then you can start, filling out your roster after that.
For sure.
Plus, Tony, the league he plays in, the quarterbacks don't quite score as much, so running backs are a little bit more valuable. So it totally makes sense to grab running backs.
Right.
Like I'm drafting 7th in the league that we're in, Tony, with Ted, and I'm considering Michael Thomas. Am I a fool for looking receiver there?
Michael Thomas?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I would date that guy.
Me too.
I would date him. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
I'd have his babies.
Last year he scored more than most running backs. Not Christian McCaffrey, obviously, but most running backs he outscored. But he set records last year. I don't think he's going to do anything close to that. He's going to regress a little bit, so I'm a little worried about that. But the running backs, I think they're going to go 1 through 5 in that league. It might go all running backs. So at that point, I got to look elsewhere, right? I can't just – I don't like to just, like, follow other people's runs and take what's left over. I like to start my own trends. So I might go quarterback there, or I might take Michael Thomas. I'm still kind of debating on that.
But like you said, the way he scores, if he's going to be scoring more than or like a number 1 running back, then that's your pick. That's your points.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with you.
Hey, Royce, in your league, do you guys determine draft order ahead of time, or is it something you just show up and draft?
We show up and, everyone punches in, and then you find out right there what if you're 1 through 8.
But you're a mock guy. I know you mock draft a crap ton. You're kind of like me in that aspect. So you're probably prepared for each spot that you draft in.
Right.
Tony, I don't know if I could show up to a draft not knowing where I'm drafting. I like to know where I'm drafting weeks ahead of the draft so I can prepare properly. How do you feel about that? What do you think?
Yeah, I do too. I think for entertainment purposes, though, as you've seen for the years we've been playing together, it's fun. It helps you get excited for the season, prepare for the season. I look for that a month in advance. I want to get that number. I want to study, but I also want to be part of the group. It gets that itch going for football. So part of it is just it's a good time getting together and picking numbers. But yeah, I love knowing that. Some of the head-to-head leagues I play, for me, it's not really as important. I think head-to-head can be a little bit different personally. But when it comes down to total points, I really like knowing my pick, for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, guys, let's dig into draft strategy. Let's start with players that are undervalued in the draft, in your opinion. Let's find some guys that I guess they're sleepers, even though sleepers don't really exist anymore because of all the publications. They're always telling you, like, who's a sleeper. So, but what guys are going ADP-wise kind of low in the draft that you want to take maybe a little higher that you think are going to maybe blow up? I'll start with you, Royce. You got any sleepers?
I do. And he's not even being drafted at any of my mock drafts at all. If any quarterback of someone on your bench, I really like Phillip Rivers. I know it's a new system. It's Colts. He's got some weapons there, though. He's got Hilton. He's got a couple other guys. I mean, they threw Brissett in there, and he had a pretty decent season last year. And look for him. He slings the ball. That's all he knows how to do is throw that ball.
Yeah, but he throws it like this.
He does, but somehow it works, though, right? I mean, the guy, somehow.
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah. So if you're in a pinch or you need someone on your bench, I like Rivers. I do.
And you're right. He's not being drafted in most leagues according to ADP. So that might be a good steal.
Yeah, one of his main weapons is a wheelchair. So, I mean, it definitely
Exactly.
That's nice. All right, Tony, give me a sleeper of yours.
All right, I kind of dig this guy. I know he can be really frustrating, but if you run the numbers, I like Kirk Cousins this year. Like I said, I know he can be frustrating for a lot of people, but on average, he's still going to get you over 4,000 yards. He's going to get you, 25, 28 touchdowns, if I remember the stats correctly. He's got that, let me look here, I wrote that Jefferson. That Justin Jefferson kid is really impressive. Obviously, no stuff on Diggs. Diggs is in Buffalo, but I like the lineup there, and I think you're going to see a surprising year out of him this year. I'm not saying he's going to put up, 50 touchdowns, but I think he's a little undervalued. I would bump him up a couple notches.
Well, that tells me that Thielen's probably going to have a nice return year, like comeback year, which definitely would help him out. He's got two good receivers on the outside. He's got big tight ends. I could totally see him having a nice year. Well, since we're talking about quarterbacks, I'll give you one of my sleeper quarterbacks. So last night I was doing a podcast with Johnny Ballgame, and he said one of the guys he doesn't like is Daniel Jones. Well, I happen to think the exact opposite about Daniel Jones. Danny Dimes, I love his weapons. Second year, I think he's going to be super explosive. But, yeah, Daniel Jones is my sleeper. What you guys think?
Go ahead, Royce. I got to think about that for a minute.
I love it. I mean, look, exactly, the weapons. I mean, Saquon out of the backfield, he's catching 80 passes easily, don't you think? I mean, he can be up there with McCaffrey this year as far as pass catching. Yeah, he's got good wide receivers. I can't think of the tight end's name, but I think he's going to have a bounce back year.
Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram's tough.
Yeah.
They got Slayton on one side.
Slayton.
And
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they do have weapons. So they have Sterling Shepard. That's the guy I can think of. Yeah, so they got some weapons. And he was coming on in the second half of the season. I think
I was going to say.
Yeah, he was.
He had some big games going out. So you got something there. I mean, I wouldn't kick him to the curb. I like the kid, though.
All right, so we talked about some undervalued guys. So we're going to flip it. Now we're going to talk about overvalued guys. Who are guys that you're not touching at their current ADP? We'll start with you, Tony.
This one pains me. You can look at my door up there. But I'm not buying Mixon. I'm not buying Joe Mixon where he's at. Is he good? Is he talented? Yes. The system scares me a little bit. I still don't buy really the O-line. I can't even explain. It might be a gut thing because I'm a big Cincinnati fan. So I watch, I listen, I study those guys. I don't buy Mixon at that position. I look at him personally as a really almost a number 2 running back. And I know a lot of people would probably disagree. I think he's going to have some big games. I think he's going to have some crap games. That's just my opinion on Joe.
Same as last year. I mean, he started off really terrible. Bengals struggled. He did come on in the second half, but it's a new year, new schemes. It could be a disaster for him again. So last year he was a running back too. So yeah, fully agree. What about you, Royce? Who's overrated?
Not a big overrated, but I'm staying away from any Buffalo Bills. Devin Singletary, I'm not a fan. Any Buffalo actually, but him especially. I mean, you got the quarterback Josh Allen who he ran I think for 8 touchdowns, and that's 8 takeaways from him. And they're really big on their rookie running back Zach Moss. They like him a lot, which is make give away some touches to him. So I'd stay away from him. Good.
Yeah, I mean the Buffalo Bills, they're not an explosive offense. No. I'm not a huge fan of Josh Allen. He was top 10 in a lot of people's rankings early on, but he's starting to slide down the rankings. People are remembering last year how awful he was. He can throw a deep ball, but he's very inaccurate.
Yeah, so, he's got a cannon, but that doesn't mean he
does
fights with it.
I don't know if you remember in the playoff game, but he threw to double coverage to his fullback 40 yards down the field. Yeah, no.
Got a cannon.
Not for me.
All right, so one of the guys that I'm not touching in any league is Deshaun Watson. A lot of people probably think I'm crazy. Deshaun Watson is everyone's third or fourth quarterback coming off the board. I don't even have him in my top 10. I don't like the fact that they took Hopkins away from him. They didn't replace him with anyone of value to me. Brandon Cooks is kind of an aging receiver with head concussion issues. I don't like his situation at all, at least not for the price where you got to get him as one of your top 5 quarterbacks. No, thank you. I'm staying away.
Interesting.
I like it.
All right, guys, let's do another undervalued player. You guys picked quarterbacks last time. I'm going to ask you to pick a different position. Give me a sleeper at a different position other than quarterback. Let's start with you, Royce. What do you think?
I like Kareem Hunt.
Nice.
Running back out of in Cleveland. Also, Nick Chubb's going to be number 1 guy, but I've been reading that those two could be splitting time together. They like Hunt out of the backfield. They like him on 3rd down. I mean, if he's there 3rd down, Chubb's not getting any touches or any passes. And knock on wood, you don't want to see your number 1 guy go down. But if you have him on your bench and Chubb does go down, I mean he's a number 1 guy starting. So
not only that, he might be the best running back, maybe next to Christian McCaffrey in the league if he's got all the carries. So
exactly. I mean, remember him a few years ago.
Yeah, and for the ADP, you're getting him as your running back 3 most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Exactly. I mean, and he's got a full season now this year. Remember last year he was suspended for 8 games.
Exactly.
And now he's there for 16. So.
All right, Tony, what do you got? Well, who's undervalued?
This might be a stretch. I'm not saying it's something I'm going to take right away, obviously, but I actually like James White. As much as I'm saying I can't stand Cam Newton, I think Newton, one, he was used to having somebody like McCaffrey there, right? He's got James White. And I think when James White averages like 70, 80 catches, I think it's around 75 catches a season. I think Cam's going to go to that, and I think Belichick is going to be all right with that this year. Now I know they got a lot of running backs, but James White is money, and he's still got it in him. And I don't know. I think that he is going to be a surpriser. I'm not saying he's going to be my number 2 either, but I think he'd be a great bench running back, a great value.
Yeah, I mean he's probably a running back 4 off the draft board, so. You're taking him in one of the last few rounds. You're not really paying a heavy price for him. So it's worth a flyer for sure. All right, so we did the undervalued players. Now we got to go back to the overvalued players. We'll go back to you, Royce. Who's your second most overvalued, overrated player?
We'll go tight end here. And he had an amazing season last year with the Raiders, but I'm going to take Darren Waller. What the Raiders did, they're the first team to draft a wide receiver. They actually drafted 2 rookie wide receivers. They just signed Witten. They have Winfro. Jacobs is a stud coming out of the backfield. I don't think there's enough touches this year for him. So be wary. He's I think he's going maybe top 5-10, maybe tight ends taken this year.
Top 5.
Top 5, yeah. So I'd be wary of that pick.
All right, Tony, who are you staying away from? Who's overvalued?
I mean, I like him, but I don't trust his position right now. It's A.J. Brown. The guy, he caught a number of those like 40, 50-yard bombs or whatever it was for touchdowns. I don't really see it. I think that if you want to leave him in that position, fine, and throw some long balls to him. I just think he's going to have a different season this year, and I don't think he's going to get as many catches either. I don't know. I think he's overvalued. I think a lot of people hype him up. He's decent, but I don't like him in this position either.
I could see that. Yeah, for sure. So the guy that I'm completely off, obviously we're going back to Buffalo. I don't like Josh Allen, which means I don't like Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs is going to struggle this year. New team, new system, new quarterback that's inaccurate. All those reasons. Plus you have to draft him as your wide receiver too. I'm not interested. What do you guys think?
100%.
100%. Again, Buffalo, stay away, run away. Not just I mean, their defense is amazing. I mean, I probably don't think I would draft his defense if it was available at the end of my draft. Other than that, I'm staying away from all Buffalo players.
I mean, yeah, the Bills are going to be kind of the team that plays defense, tries to keep the scores lower. They're going to run the ball a lot. They're going to do the short passes. So that doesn't sound good for Stephon Diggs to me. And they still have John Brown, and John Brown's kind of the deep threat. So the big plays might still go to John Brown, and Stephon Diggs might get frustrated, just like last year with the Vikings. It's kind of a similar situation. All right, so now we're going to talk about defenses this year. From year to year, defenses, they seem to be, the top 5 defenses always seem to be different every year. There's so much turnover, new schemes, new coaches, and yada, 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 which is why I don't really particularly like strength of schedule as a tool to decide who you're going to draft, because it's based on last year. So last year, obviously, the New England Patriots were completely dominant for 8 weeks, and then they've kind of fell off a cliff. And so this year, we're going to talk about what defenses we think are going to be the top 5 defenses. Royce, I'll start with you. Do you have any defenses that really stand out to you that you might pick as later in the draft, and they might end up being the top defense?
No. I'm not a big defensive guy. I used to be able to, what I used to do in this league I'm in, I can't do anymore. I would just stream defenses if you're able to do that. I would just find the best matchups each Sunday, whoever I liked, and I would just put them in. But I'm always picking my defenses, 13th, 14th, 15th round anyway. So I just pick whatever's the best out there. So sorry, I'm not a big defensive guy. Just something to plug in and hope it gets some points.
In a lot of leagues, defenses don't score a crap ton of points, so you just kind of dismiss them. In our league, though, Tony and myself, the leagues we're in, the defenses score quite a bit, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So usually they start going in like the 5th or 6th round, but I think this year we made a few adjustments to lower the points a little bit. So I'm guessing they'll go a little later. But Tony, I'll give you one of my defenses. I think they're going to finish first, just a stab in the dark. But I like the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were really good last year. They're even better this year. They drafted well. I like the fact that Roethlisberger's coming back, so they'll instead of playing from behind all the time, they'll probably be ahead in a lot of these games and let the defenses really pin their ears back and go after the quarterback. So there's one of my defenses. Did you have anybody in mind, Tony, that you like on defense?
Steelers are one of them for sure. I look at the Steelers and 49ers. I like the 49ers system. I think they look healthy. They look fast. And I like the Bills too. A lot of people have the Bills going possibly number 1. I like them more like a 3 or 4. But I'm edging a little bit towards San Francisco.
Okay. Royce, so you stream defenses. In our leagues, we pay transaction fees, and we have a rule where we can only have 2 defenses on our roster at all times. Mm-hmm. Actually, we have to always have 2 defenses. So I don't know if streaming is really an option for us.
Yeah.
But when you stream, like, what are you looking for are you looking just at the teams that have crappy offenses and you just throw a defense in there, or do you have a different strategy?
No, but yeah, basically that's it. I mean, you see who everybody's defense is, who they have on their team, and who's still left out there.
Right.
And say that whatever the 15 defenses or whatever the people don't have, I just pick the best one out of that one. And it is matchup. I mean, you can kind of see the season what teams are struggling, and if you're, say the Bengals aren't, not scoring at all, and they're playing, let's say Seattle, and Seattle's used to be a great defense, but not anymore. But maybe they're up in Seattle. That might be someone to pick, something like that. So I just go with what's best available, basically.
When I used to stream defenses in other leagues, what I would just look for is what defense is starting to come on and they look like they're getting hot. Like a couple of years back, it was the Chiefs. They started to really play really well. They were getting big leads and then going after the quarterback and getting turnovers. So that was a good streaming option back then. So I look for a couple things, obviously the matchup and how they're starting to play. Like you'll notice teams that are really bad in the beginning of the year, and a lot of times it's the Patriots. Over the years, they start off really bad, but then coaching starts to take over and they start to get hot, and you can stream them later.
Right.
All right, so I have one more defense that I could throw out there. The Buffalo Bills. I mean, like I said, they're gonna pound the ball. They're gonna try to get an early lead and then hold the lead. So I think they're gonna be a good defense to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to like Don Lawson back in the day was money at streaming defenses the last 3 to 5 weeks of the season. He always took a good pick and be like, dude, you're taking the 49ers up against whoever, like an above average offense. And he's like, because of this and this. I'm like, whatever, man. And I wake up Monday morning like 70 points from your defense. But he knew what he was doing. And it's good way to, especially with in total points. It's excellent way to be strategic at the end of the season.
Absolutely. All right, so we're gonna finish up the show with we're gonna go back to our poop list, but this is gonna be your all-time poop list, not guys that are still playing, but maybe like of all the years you guys have played fantasy football. Who is like number one on your poop list of all time? You got anybody? I'll start with you, Royce.
I got one, but it's not a Bengals thing. Like I'm hard on my own team, but it was Corey Dillon. Corey Dillon was one of those guys
Dillon.
where he'd be like 200 yards, 180 yards, whatever. Just, tee off. And then the next week, he would play a mediocre defense and couldn't do anything. And it did not look like it was the offensive line or the weather or he was on the road. He would just look like he would lose gas or lose his wheels. And he would break your heart. When you needed him the most, he didn't come through. And that is probably that guy. And I had a couple seasons with Vinny Testaverde back in the day, where he would just have a big point, a couple amazing games, and then he would just break my heart. Those are two names for you.
All right, Royce, did you have anybody that's on your all-time shit list?
Yeah, I remember this guy had a breakout rookie season, and we thought for years and years to come. You guys remember Trent Richardson, running back? Yeah, Cleveland, and he went to the Colts. I mean, his rookie season was amazing, and then the guy fell off the face of the earth. And I remember drafting him again, and maybe actually the next year. So 3 years I had him, and the last two were terrible, and that was it. And obviously he's out of the league now, but didn't do much after his rookie season. So that was a big bust.
So my guy, I don't know if you remember the Washington Redskins. They would always have like great running games, and Shanahan would make anybody a 1,000-yard runner. And one preseason, this guy Hightower started tearing it up, and everyone was in love with Hightower, including me. And I drafted him, I believe, and it's my second round pick. And he was awful. I mean, the guy just – so I'll forever hate that guy. Screw that guy. And then he disappeared. Like, I haven't heard from him since, and I'm kind of glad. And then, now, so on the flip, is there any guy all time that you love, like you forever will love? Tony?
Forever would love. I'm always gonna give two. There was two running backs that they weren't in the league a long time, but the few seasons in different leagues that I had them, they did me well, and I loved watching them. Actually, I'm going three at this point. I'm going Eddie George, Clinton Portis, and Sean Alexander. Alexander teed off pretty quick, but man, I loved watching him play. He gave me a couple good seasons, and I love those three running backs.
Those are good ones. I like that. How about you, Royce?
Number one for me is LT with Daniel Thomason.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, every year, right? I mean, he was just unbelievable. I mean, he rewrote the record books. And to go back, probably Asian a little bit, kind of first introduction into fantasy football. I mean, number one pick, I think, for like 5 years maybe. Marshall Faulk, too, the Rams was all.
Oh, you just stole my guy.
Sorry about that, Chuck.
No, good one.
Yeah.
I got another one, so you're good.
Okay. All right. You go.
Isaac Bruce. He's going to say it.
What did you think I was going to say?
Isaac Bruce.
I do like Isaac Bruce.
Yeah.
But actually, I have two now. I just thought of another one. I'll do the first one. Steve Smith.
Oh, Steve Smith.
Love me some Steve Smith. Even when I even drafted him when he was old man Steve Smith on the Ravens, and he came through for me a little bit. So
Nice.
I'll forever love Steve Smith. But my number one guy of all time is Peyton Manning. I mean, come on. Peyton Manning changed the game of football to what we see on TV now. And Peyton Manning was always good to daddy. So I love Peyton Manning. As a matter of fact, I told Royce this, and you remember this. I took Peyton Manning number one in the draft the year he set all the records. And I took shit for it from all the guys in the league. You're going to take Manning first? You're an idiot. Why don't you take Aaron Rodgers? Remember that?
Yeah.
And, so love me some Peyton Manning.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, he really is.
Can I ask you guys a question? What's your opinion on something real quick?
Yeah.
Tight end, Tyler Higbee. Where do you guys see him?
You want this one, Royce, or you want me to take it?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Chuck.
All right, so Tyler Higbee is actually someone that I really liked. He really had some monster games last year towards the end of the season. I was playing him a lot in DFS and like cashing in. The problem is Gerald Everett was hurt, and so they changed the scheme a little bit to compensate for that, and they changed their offense. Now Gerald Everett is healthy. I'm not positive that the same thing is going to, play out. If I was the coach, I would continue using Tyler Higbee because he ended up being quite a weapon, but I'm not the coach, so I don't know what he's going to do. I'm a little afraid of that, but will you draft him kind of middle rounds? It's not that much of a risk.
Yeah.
Would you agree, Royce?
Absolutely, yeah. If he's sitting there middle rounds and you need a tight end, definitely I'd pick him up, but definitely not my top 7 or 8, I'd say.
Yeah, he's around 10 for me probably. Yeah. And I wouldn't want him to just be my only tight end. I would probably get a secondary tight end just in case. What do you think of him, Tony? I know you probably like him.
I love him. Yeah, I love him. I've been reading up on him. Some people think he's a little bit overvalued. I actually read about a week ago somebody looked at him for being, undervalued. But I think they're going to play too, and I think he's going to get his touches. And I think by midseason he's going to tee off again. I think he's going to come on strong. I think they're going to access him. I don't understand the Rams' offense too much, so they confuse me. They got a lot of weapons and they don't know what they're doing sometimes. So I think they're going to go with a lot of tight end work this year, but we'll see.
Okay. So over the years, Tony, I have mad respect for the way you draft. You always draft great teams. I mean, I remember, and you take risks, which is what I like. You have to take risks if you're going to win.
Right.
I remember a couple years back, you took 2 rookies. You took Dalvin Cook and you took Kareem Hunt. And you took them a little bit before they were supposed to go, according to ADP. Right. And you were running away with the league. I mean, if it wasn't for the injury to Dalvin Cook and then a bunch of other injuries decimated your team, you'd have easily won that league. So do you have any special strategies that when you go into a draft that you use, or does it change from year to year?
Sometimes it can change. There's certain parts of my strategy that are conservative, and there's some, as you can see, that are not. Usually the first few rounds, if I get the opportunity to take that risk, I'm going to do it. But I view fantasy football this way. I want to have a good time. I like to have fun, okay? And if I am middle of the road to almost last, it's like, oh, well, you laugh it off. Everybody laughs at you or whatever. But if you take a couple risks, like drafting those 2 rookies, and they tee off and you win, you're a freaking hero. You know what I mean? And you're more proud of winning. So on average for me, because I'm not the GOAT like you, on the average, I'm going to be middle of the road. So I'd rather take chances. So I look at guys, depending on who's there, obviously, if they are well above average in preseason, and I look at the college numbers, of course, I like to take a chance and I will pick them up. But I'm kind of talking in circles right now because it just depends on the way it lands and who drafts before you and so on and so forth. And I liked both those guys. I remember doing the same thing years ago with what was that dude's name? Quentin Griffin, was it? I think he was a running back rookie for the Broncos. I think that was his name. I already forget.
Oh yeah. I do remember him. And I think you're right.
I did that year too. I grabbed a couple rookies, and the first 3 weeks, the guy just teed off, and I was like, I did it. And then of course he got hurt. So it just that's the way it goes. But I like taking risks. It's fun for me.
All right, so now that brings me to the question. Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the Chiefs is a rookie. No one's ever seen him touch a ball in the NFL, but he's going in the first round.
I know.
How scary is that? What do you think, Royce? Do you like this guy?
I do. I like him. What I've read, absolutely. The other guy's hurt or he's out. I can't remember what the situation is.
Yeah, Damian Williams opted out.
He opted out.
And
he's the number 1 guy. Sure, why not? He's on the Super Bowl team. Amazing coach. He's got the best quarterback in the league. Good offensive line. If he's sitting there number 1 for me, if I'm drafting towards the end, he's there, I'm definitely picking him up. No, first pick.
What about you, Tony? Obviously, you're drafting first in one league, but in the league where you're drafting 12th, would you consider him?
Normally, I don't think I'm going to. The reason why is okay. I'm doing some reading. They're talking about, if they don't give it up too much online, but possibly changing the program up slightly, feeding him the ball a little more, because they're expecting Mahomes to come right out of the gate and throw the ball. Well, I think he's going to. When you have all that talent, what's the point? I don't think they're going to feed him the ball as much as expected. I could be wrong. I think he's uber talented, but I don't like picking him that quick. I don't think he's going to get the points. I just don't think he's going to. But we don't know.
It's tough to take a guy that you've never seen play in the NFL in the first round. Normally you get the preseason and you can at least scope it out and get a feel.
Right.
It's really scary for me. I don't think I'd take him in the first. If he fell to me in the second, maybe then I would take him. But yeah, it's very scary. All right, guys, it's been great. I appreciate Tony coming on the show. Hopefully you can be a regular and do this more often. And Royce, I'm super appreciative of you. You've been on 2 episodes already, bringing that knowledge. Thanks again, guys. Once again, if you want to get one of these Hawaiian shirts, down in the links, look like a geek like me, Amazon, you can do that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Aloha. Thanks, guys.
Take care. See you, Royce.